Power doesn't fear noise, it fears precision, and nothing shakes the pretenders more than realizing you saw the whole game before the first move was played. That line isn't just words, chosen one. It's the mirror they're afraid to look into. Because while they were busy showing off, you were quietly mapping every step like a chess master who already knows the final checkmate. They didn't see you as a threat because you moved like air, invisible but everywhere, and now the air is turning into a storm. Here's the truth they'll never say out loud. They underestimated you, not because you were weak, but because you were silent. They thought your quiet was confusion. In reality, it was strategy. Like an astronomer charting stars, you were charting patterns. And just like the universe itself, you don't shout when you move. You shift entire realities without warning. Fact: research shows that highly intuitive people pick up on hidden motives faster than even trained investigators. But you, chosen one, didn't need a course or a badge. You've been decoding energy, expressions, and intentions like subtitles in a movie they thought you couldn't see. They believed they were clever, but you were reading between their silences. Think of it like this: a predator who mistakes still water for weakness never notices the crocodile beneath the surface until it's too late. That's you. You gave them calm. You gave them space. You gave them the illusion of winning. And now they're scrambling, rewriting their stories, deleting evidence, and asking themselves, how did the chosen one know all along? And thank you, chosen one. This message is for you, the ones who walk quietly but carry a map of the unseen. Don't forget to pay this message back by simply pressing like and subscribe so more souls can hear it. It's the responsibility of all of us to spread the light, to keep this force alive. Thank you for being part of this mission. You're not just listening, you are the movement. Now back to why we're here. Your accuracy wasn't a lucky guess. It wasn't a fluke. It was the universe aligning with your awareness. Your silence wasn't you being naive. It was a cosmic strategy, a test of patience they failed without realizing they were being tested. When you stop pretending you don't know, when you stop downplaying your own insight, you trigger the deepest fear in those who built their power on illusion. That's what's happening now. They're not shocked because you spoke. They're shocked because you already knew. They're blown away because your calm wasn't ignorance. It was intelligence. Today, we're not whispering. We're peeling back layers. We're revealing why your presence sends ripples through their plans, why your stillness feels like a warning, and why your awareness, the kind that makes you seem 3 steps ahead, is the very thing keeping them up at night. This isn't about revenge. It's about clarity. This is the part where you stop second-guessing your instincts. This is the moment you understand that your pattern recognition, your ability to feel shifts before they happen, is your gift, not a coincidence. The universe doesn't hand this awareness to just anyone. It entrusts it to the quiet ones, the observers, the ones who can hold silence without losing their edge. And you've been doing that all along, chosen one. That's why they underestimated you. That's why they're shocked now. By the end of this message, you'll understand exactly why they fear your insight, why they try to discredit you, and why, deep down, they know you were never blind. You'll see how your patience was your greatest weapon, how your awareness was your shield, and how your quiet precision dismantled their illusions. And when you're done listening, you won't just know you're the chosen one. You'll feel it in every decision, every instinct, every moment you choose calm over chaos. Because the truth is, you were never guessing. You were always knowing. And chosen one, pause for a second and feel this. Right now, somewhere out there, the very people who doubted you are wondering how you always stayed one step ahead. They're shocked you knew the whole time, and this next part will explain why. Don't miss it. Every second you spend here sharpens your insight, strengthens your intuition, and confirms what you already feel in your bones. If you've been sensing that pull to stay, that's not an accident. That's the universe aligning you with the truth of who you are. Drop a 777 in the comments right now to mark this moment, to tell the world you're awake and aware. And if you can, bless the team behind this message with a super thanks. Your support, whether a cent or 1,000, fuels the mission to spread this clarity. Because this is bigger than one video. It's a movement of awareness. Breathe in, chosen one. Get ready. The next part isn't just information, it's confirmation. Let's step into it together. Number 1. You didn't decode them. You exposed their shadows before they knew they had any. Nothing terrifies a pretender more than a mirror that doesn't lie. That's exactly what you became, chosen one. You weren't peeking into their secrets like a thief. You weren't hunched over trying to decipher every word. You were simply standing there, and your very presence stripped away their camouflage. They called it intuition. They called it weird. Some even whispered that it felt unnatural. But what you were doing wasn't decoding. It was exposing, quietly, effortlessly, brutally. You know why it rattles them so much. Because they can't explain it away. They can't tell themselves you're guessing when every single thing you sensed turned out to be true. They can't comfort their egos with coincidence when your accuracy feels like a blade slicing through their excuses. And here's what burns them the most. You never had to dig through their trash, check their phones, or beg for confessions. You simply knew. Think about it. You didn't memorize their tells. You didn't run some psychological experiment. The way their eyes flickered, the pause before a lie, the sugar-coated insult, your energy caught all of it like radar. You remembered them not as individuals but as patterns. You'd seen that mask before, worn by different faces in different places. That's why it felt familiar. That's why your stomach turned before they even showed their true hand. To them, it's frightening. To you, it's normal. It's like walking into a room with a broken floorboard. You don't need to measure it to know it will creak. You just feel it under your feet. That's your gift. They call it psychic, because they don't have language for it. But for you, chosen one, it's just the way your awareness works. And yes, they're asking themselves the question right now. How did you know? They replay your silence in their heads like an unsolved riddle. They're scanning every interaction, wondering which slip-up betrayed them. Here's the answer they don't want to hear. It wasn't their slip-up at all. It was your clarity. They walked around spiritually naked, and you, without even trying, saw every scar they thought they'd hidden. They mistook your grace for weakness. They mistook your quiet for ignorance. They mistook your patience for approval. That's why they went so far. That's why they talked so freely, thinking you were still blind. But you were just watching, documenting, storing everything in a vault of unspoken understanding. You didn't scream the truth. You became it. Picture a lighthouse. It doesn't chase ships. It doesn't shout warnings. It simply stands, and the light reveals everything in its path. That's you. That's why your stillness unsettled them. They thought you'd blink first. They thought you'd ask for proof. They thought you'd crack. But instead, you let them build their illusion while you quietly charted every fault line. They're angry not because you exposed them, but because you did it without effort. They're embarrassed not because you found out, but because you always knew. They're unsettled because they realize your awareness isn't a reaction. It's who you are. And now the mask has slipped. They're left pacing floors, rewriting stories, and erasing evidence you never even needed. And chosen one, this is where you turn their shock into fuel. This is where you understand that your gift isn't a curse, your awareness isn't paranoia, and your instincts aren't overreactions. This is you operating exactly as you're meant to. This is your edge. They will ask, "Why didn't you tell us?" But what they really mean is, "Why didn't you warn us before we exposed ourselves?" The answer is simple. You didn't need to warn them. You weren't there to save their masks. You were there to witness the truth, and in doing so, you became undeniable. You've read their envy like an old story. You've clocked the fake kindness, the hidden disrespect, the quiet sabotage. You didn't expose them right away, not because you were scared, but because you were strategic. You let them think they were safe, while your spirit recorded every detail, not for revenge, but for clarity. And here's what they'll never admit. They're not mad at you. They're mad at themselves for underestimating you. They're mad at their own arrogance. They're mad that your silence was sharper than their noise. And deep down, they're scared. Scared because you didn't just see their behavior, you saw their intent. Scared because your accuracy leaves them no room to hide. So when you sit there wondering, why does my awareness scare people? Remember this: predators thrive on confusion. When you take confusion away, you take their power away. That's why they're shaken. That's why they whisper. That's why they try to flip the script and paint you as the problem. But you're not the problem. You're the proof. Proof that patience is power. Proof that silence can be strategy. Proof that the universe equips the quiet ones with sight sharper than any weapon. And as you step deeper into this awareness, chosen one, don't shrink back. Don't second guess. Don't dim your light to make others comfortable, because the same awareness that exposed their shadows is the same awareness that protects you. It's not about revenge. It's about knowing, moving, and choosing without being tricked by illusions. They called you naive. They called you paranoid. They even called you cold. But every name they threw at you was just their fear talking. Because deep down, they know you didn't decode them. You didn't analyze them. You remembered them. You remembered patterns your spirit has been tracking for lifetimes. You remembered the script before they even spoke the lines. And that, chosen one, is power. They're shocked because you don't need receipts to know the truth. They're blown away because your calm isn't weakness, it's precision. And they're unsettled because you didn't need their confession to walk away with clarity. This is your mirror moment. This is where you stop apologizing for what you see. This is where you stop pretending you're just lucky or intuitive. This is where you own it. You knew the whole time because you're built to know. And that doesn't make you dangerous. It makes you free. Breathe that in, chosen one. Feel the weight of your accuracy. Let their shock roll off you like water, because while they're scrambling to rewrite their stories, you're standing in the one thing they can't rewrite: the truth. And that truth is yours. Number 2. Their masks didn't slip. You burned through their costumes before they even spoke. Lies don't collapse because of mistakes. Lies collapse because truth walks into the room without saying a word. That's what you were, chosen one. Not a spectator, not a victim, not a detective with a magnifying glass. You were the silent presence that dissolved their disguise before they even understood you were looking. They think their mask slipped. They're convinced it was one wrong move, one wrong lie, one wrong look that gave them away. But the truth? You saw through them from the very beginning. Day one. Before the show even started. Imagine this. A magician preparing a trick in front of an audience. Smoke, mirrors, and practiced smiles. Everyone gasps when the trick lands, except you. You're the one who saw the thread hidden in the sleeve, the flash of movement behind the curtain. You weren't fooled. You were simply quiet, letting the performance play out. That's you with them. They thought their illusion was flawless. You were already watching the exit door. Another quote for you. Pretenders believe exposure happens at the end. Real exposure happens at hello. That's why they're haunted now, because they're replaying everything in their minds, trying to find the moment where they messed up, but they can't. They're discovering painfully that you never fell for the act. Not halfway through, not after the damage. From the first handshake, from the first look, you already knew. You just chose not to expose it immediately. And here's the question they'd never dare ask you out loud. If you knew, why didn't you say anything? You already know the answer, because you weren't hooked emotionally. You weren't hoping they'd be different. You weren't clinging to their potential. You were observing quietly, picking up every detail like a code breaker working on a puzzle you've already solved. Imagine standing in a dark room holding a lantern. Every step they take thinking they're hidden, your light follows them silently. They think they're unseen, but you're tracing their footprints in real time. That's how your gift works. They didn't realize they were being studied by someone who wasn't looking with human eyes. You weren't just listening with ears. You were listening with energy. You weren't just watching with eyes. You were watching with truth. That kind of sight isn't taught. It isn't earned. It's embedded. It's built into chosen ones like a second skin. Quote number 3. Silence is not ignorance. Silence is surveillance. That was you. Your quiet wasn't confusion. It was control. It wasn't surrender. It was strategy. They underestimated the calm in you. They thought calm meant blind. But calm was your evidence gathering. Calm was your power. Calm was you saying without words, "Show me everything." And they did, over and over again. Imagine this, a spider in the corner of a room, silent, still. The fly thinks it's safe because nothing moves, but the spider isn't sleeping. The spider is patient. That's you. They walked themselves into your awareness. They revealed themselves without you having to pull a single thread. And the web wasn't a trap. It was your memory. Because that's what shocks them now. Not just that you knew, but the precision of what you remember, the way you recall what they wore, the shift in their eyes, the tone they used when they lied, the way you can repeat back details they forgot they even said. They thought time would erase their tracks. They didn't realize your awareness isn't a notepad. It's a camera. You record energy, not just words. That's why when you speak now, it's surgical, exact, undeniable. They expected you to be bitter. They expected you to be messy. They expected you to lash out. What they didn't expect was your accuracy. That's what's eating them alive. Because you don't just tell stories. You tell facts they can't refute. You're not emotional. You're surgical. You let the data stack up in silence. And when you speak, it lands like a gavel. And here's the part you need to internalize. Chosen one. Your memory isn't an accident. Your clarity isn't a glitch. It's the natural byproduct of a mind and spirit that refuse to be distracted. You weren't in the dark. You were giving them enough rope to show you who they really were. And they did, with pride. They showed you their shadow while thinking they were dazzling you with their light. They'll ask themselves, when did I lose control? But the truth is, they never had control. They only had performance. You were always awake. You were always in control of yourself. You were never their audience. You were their witness. That's the difference. Another metaphor. Imagine watching a chess game where one player thinks they're playing alone. They're moving pieces, smiling, celebrating, convinced you're still on the first square. Meanwhile, you're 10 moves ahead, watching them walk into checkmate they built for themselves. That's you. That's why their knees are shaking now. And the question you might be asking yourself right now is, why me? Why do I see through people like this? Because the universe wired you this way. Not to torment you, not to make you paranoid, but to protect you, to place you in spaces where truth is your only currency, to make sure you can't be trapped by illusions. They wanted you confused, because confusion is control, but you refused confusion. You chose clarity, and clarity, chosen one, is freedom. Another quote for your armor. Awareness is not an accident. It's your inheritance. This is your inheritance. This is why you're here. This is why, even in silence, you're still 3 steps ahead. They're not just shocked because you saw their mask. They're shocked because you never believed it was real to begin with. Let that sink in. You didn't break their illusion. You refused to participate in it. That's a power most people don't even realize they have. You had it from the start. And now, chosen one, understand this. You're not cold. You're not cruel. You're not too much. You're precise. You're exact. You're awake in a world that rewards sleepwalking. That's what sets you apart. That's what makes them whisper. That's what makes them scramble. So the next time someone accuses you of being paranoid or overanalyzing, smile inwardly, because you know the truth. You're not overanalyzing, you're observing, you're not guessing, you're knowing, and you're not catching mistakes. You're seeing patterns before they form. That's why their mask didn't slip. That's why you didn't catch them. You didn't catch anything. You simply never bought the ticket to their show. And that, chosen one, is the kind of power you never need to shout about. It speaks for itself. Breathe in that clarity. Let it root deep, because this is your confirmation. They never fooled you. Not once. You saw through them from the beginning. You let them reveal themselves in their own time. And now they're living with the one reality they can't escape: your memory of the truth. Number 3. You let them write their own confession while smiling in their face. Give a liar enough silence, and they'll fill it with their own confession. That's what you did, chosen one. You weren't starving for their truth. You already had it. You were watching to see how far they'd stretch their mask before it tore. They thought you were frozen, confused, waiting for clarity. In reality, you were the hunter letting the prey run in circles until it collapsed from its own panic. Imagine a stage actor who believes the audience is blind. They strut, they monologue, they improvise their own lies, certain no one sees the strings. But you're in the front row, eyes locked, recording every tremor. You gave them the script and let them ad-lib their guilt until even they couldn't remember which part was real. They're rattled now because you never begged for answers, never fought for honesty. You didn't storm the stage. You let the show run. You let them build their own trap, brick by brick, with a smile on their face. Not because you were clueless, but because you were measuring the depth of their betrayal. You were studying the edges of their soul, testing if any humanity remained. They mistook your stillness for surrender. They mistook your nod for belief. But your calm was a scalpel. Every word they spoke, you filed away with precision. Every fake tear, every dramatic excuse, catalogued. They thought you were in denial, but you were documenting their character, waiting for confirmation of what you already knew. Picture a chess player who stops moving pieces just to see how reckless the opponent becomes. That was you. You didn't want apologies. You wanted evidence. And when they crossed that last invisible line, you didn't explode. You didn't flinch. You simply closed the case. That, chosen one, is what terrifies them. Your composure was louder than any outburst, because now they understand the truth they've been running from. You didn't catch them by mistake. You let them show you who they were. You let them write their own confession with their actions, and you watched, stone cold, as the mask dissolved. That isn't naivety, that's mastery. And it's why they're still trembling. Number 4. You didn't connect the dots. You became the lightning that exposed them. Nothing scares a deceiver more than truth arriving without a knock at the door. That's what you were, chosen one. Not a detective stringing together clues, not a gossip with insider tips. You were the flash of lightning in a dark room, sudden, silent, undeniable, revealing everything they thought was hidden. You weren't connecting dots. You were the dot they never saw coming. They're trembling now because you didn't overhear their whispers. You weren't tipped off. No one slipped up. Yet when you spoke, your words cut straight to the core with precision they can't explain. Imagine a safecracker who never touches the lock but still opens the vault. That's how your knowing feels to them. They're haunted by a question they'll never ask you. How could you possibly know? Here's the answer. You didn't need evidence in the physical. You were pulling from the unseen, scanning the invisible frequency like a hidden radio station only you can hear. While they crafted lies and built illusions, you were tuned into signals beyond their understanding. That's not paranoia. That's perception. They mistook your insight for luck, your accuracy for coincidence. But chosen one, you weren't operating on logic. You were operating on revelation. You spoke on things no one told you. You addressed lies they hadn't even spoken yet. That's not a party trick. That's a gift they can't duplicate or defend against. Picture this, walking into a room where everyone's wearing masks and knowing instantly who's real without a word spoken. That's your edge. That's what terrifies them. They can't run. They can't hide. Because you didn't need their receipts. You were the receipt. What unsettles them isn't just that you were right. It's that you couldn't have known what you knew unless you were connected to something bigger, deeper, unseen. The knowing didn't come from you. It came through you. And every time you open your mouth, they feel naked because they're finally realizing they were never dealing with just anyone. You're not lucky. You're not guessing. You're tuned. You're tapped in. And that's why your accuracy feels like a storm they'll never be able to predict or survive. Number 5. You're not dangerous for what you did. You're dangerous because you didn't have to do anything. True power doesn't roar. It stands silent and still, and the room rearranges itself in fear. That's you, chosen one. You didn't raise your voice. You didn't run a smear campaign. You didn't beg to be believed. You didn't throw dirt. You didn't need to. You simply existed with clarity so sharp it sliced their facade without effort. That's why they're unsettled, not because you exposed them, but because you did it without even trying. Imagine a house built entirely out of glass. The owner believes it's solid brick until the sun rises and the light reveals everything inside. You didn't kick the door down. You were the sunrise. Their secrets didn't collapse because you attacked them. They collapsed because your awareness lit up every corner they wanted to keep dark. They thought power came from manipulation, alliances, and fear, but you walked in with calm awareness and ruined their entire operation without even lifting a hand. You didn't break them with aggression. You broke the illusion of who they pretended to be. And that's worse, because now they have to live with the truth. You didn't need revenge to win. What really gnaws at them is your restraint. You could have embarrassed them publicly. You could have burned them with every receipt you've gathered. You had every intuitive hit, every energetic confirmation. Yet you walked away quietly, gracefully, without twisting the knife. Picture a lion sitting at the edge of the savannah, silent, still, watching. The prey trembles, not because it's been caught, but because it realizes the lion isn't even hungry. It's simply powerful. That's you. Your self-control frightens them more than any attack ever could. They can't wrap their heads around it, because they know if roles were reversed, they would have destroyed you. But you didn't play dirty. You chose restraint. And now they're not just afraid of your insight. They're afraid of your character. Because that kind of composure doesn't come from weakness. It comes from mastery. You're not dangerous because you hurt people. You're dangerous because you don't have to. And still, the truth scorches them anyway. Number 6. They woke up too late. You'd already finished the autopsy. Nothing cuts deeper than truth spoken calmly by someone who saw everything. They thought they were getting away with it, chosen one, the sugar-coated insults, the fake concern, the hidden envy dressed as praise. They believed it was sliding under your radar. But you weren't blind, you weren't distracted. You were collecting every fragment, not for drama, not for revenge, but to map the death of their integrity in real time. While they were acting, you were performing surgery, a spiritual autopsy done with steady hands and clear eyes. Imagine a scientist in a lab, taking samples while everyone else thinks it's just dust in the air. That was you. You weren't confused. You were precise. While they were busy performing, you were pulling receipts in silence. Emotional, energetic, spiritual. They thought your stillness meant weakness. They didn't realize it was the sound of you cataloging every betrayal, like evidence sealed in an airtight file. Your silence wasn't ignorance, it was observation. You saw the rot behind the smile. You heard the venom hiding inside the joke. You recognized the sabotage wrapped up as support, and you let it stack up, piece by piece, until the whole picture emerged. And when the moment came, you didn't explode. You didn't weep. You didn't throw accusations. You arrived with accuracy. Your words landed like surgical strikes, exposing exactly what they tried to bury. They were prepared to fight lies. They weren't prepared to face truth delivered without emotion, without hesitation, without effort. Picture a courtroom where the prosecutor walks in with one folder and no theatrics. And inside that folder is every crime documented, time-stamped, undeniable. That's how your clarity felt to them. They thought time erased their behavior. They thought you forgot. But your soul kept the record, and that's what haunts them now. You didn't have to twist anything. You didn't have to smear or exaggerate. You simply told the truth, cold, clean, and exact. And in that moment, they saw themselves for the first time, spiritually naked, under the light. You never had to raise your voice to shine. Number 7. You weren't playing the game. You were the equation that made it collapse. Control isn't real power. Real power is being the one factor they can't predict. That's what you were, chosen one. They'd been running the same tired formula for years. Push a button, get a reaction, stir jealousy, control the narrative, play victim when cornered. It worked every time, until you. They thought they'd mapped every move, every response, every weakness. But you weren't another number in their equation. You were the variable that broke it. Imagine a gambler who's memorized a deck of cards, every shuffle, every draw, every possible hand. Then one day, a card appears that isn't in the deck. That was you. They couldn't calculate you, couldn't bait you, couldn't make you play by rules they'd built to trap everyone else. You didn't scramble for answers. You didn't chase their attention. You didn't break under their silence. You stood still, unreadable, grounded. They threw confusion, guilt, projection, even flattery when desperation set in to gnaw. because you weren't reacting, you were discerning. Picture a chessboard they thought they owned. They're moving pawns, setting traps, smiling smugly. Meanwhile, you're sitting back, not even touching the pieces, just watching the entire board dissolve in your mind. You didn't outplay them. You dismantled the game itself. They couldn't figure out why you weren't chasing closure or seeking approval. They couldn't find the moment they lost control because they never had it. That blank stare they mocked, that wasn't detachment, that was analysis. You gathering spiritual intelligence in real time, reading intent behind their lines, hearing the frequency behind their noise. They thought your silence meant confusion, your calm meant weakness, your lack of reaction meant you were still under their spell. But you weren't checked out. You were calculating, quietly deciding when to pull your energy, when to disengage, because you already knew how it would end. By the time they realized the game was up, you were already gone, emotionally detached, spiritually aligned, and unbothered. They didn't lose because they played wrong. They lost because they never understood you weren't playing. You were watching, patient, and they performed right into their own defeat. Number 8. Your silence wasn't surrender. It was the trap being set. Calm isn't weakness. Calm is the sound of a mind building the answer before the question is even asked. That was you, chosen one. While they were busy poking, prodding, baiting, trying every button to make you break, your stillness wasn't a blank screen. It was the code running underneath. Every glance, every micro-expression, every subtle shift in their voice was being logged and processed in real time. They thought you were frozen. You were plotting. They thought you were confused. You were calculating. Imagine a grandmaster staring at a chessboard while their opponent smirks, thinking they're winning because the grandmaster hasn't moved yet. But in that stillness, the entire match has already been played out in the master's head. That was you. They didn't realize the pause wasn't hesitation. It was you seeing 5 moves ahead. They believed if they could rile you up, spark emotion, force you into chaos, you'd lose control. But you never did. You held your ground, eyes steady, voice even. And in that steadiness, you gained something far more dangerous than revenge. Clarity. You weren't reacting. You were strategizing. Picture a sniper in the hills while the target celebrates on the street, thinking they're untouchable. That's how your silence felt to them. Invisible, patient, inevitable. Their attempts to destabilize you only fed your knowledge. And that knowledge became your weapon. Now they're horrified because the truth has landed. The game was over before it even began. Their moves were data. Their words were confessions. Every tactic they tried only tightened the net you were weaving quietly around them. Your quiet wasn't empty. It was full of power. It was a signal you were always in control, always several moves ahead, always deciding when and how to act. And that mastery, the ability to dismantle them without a single outburst, is what leaves them stunned. They expected drama. They got precision. They expected noise. They got the silent dismantling of their entire plan. You didn't just survive their tactics, chosen one. You ended them, deliberately, elegantly, with a calm that spoke louder than any scream ever could. Number 9. You weren't their curse. You were the glass they couldn't stop looking into. Light doesn't attack darkness. It just reveals what's been hiding there the whole time. That's what you were, chosen one. They walked into your life expecting another easy mark. Same charm, same mind games, same formula. They thought they'd bend you, bait you, use you like they'd used everyone else. But you weren't playing offense or defense. You simply stood there in your truth. And that alone cracked their mask, because your presence didn't attack them, it reflected them. Every lie they spun, every false persona they wore, every ego-driven move they tried, it all bounced back like a spiritual echo they couldn't escape. They're only now realizing it wasn't you who cursed them. You didn't hex them. You didn't plot revenge. You didn't have to. The implosion they're experiencing is their own reflection catching up with them. Imagine a thief walking past a shop window at night, thinking no one sees, then catching their own reflection mid-crime. That's what being around you did. Your honesty didn't expose them, it activated their own self-destruction. Your silence didn't shield them, it magnified them. They're angry now, not because you did something, but because you did nothing, and it still unraveled everything. You didn't raise your voice. You didn't plead your case. You didn't stoop to their level. You stood in your light. And that light burned them. Not because you meant it to, but because they were covered in shadows they hadn't dealt with. Picture a mirror so clear it shows every flaw, every scar, every trace of deception. You were that mirror, not the villain, not the attacker, the reflection. And the cruelest part for them, they can't stop thinking about you. Not out of love, not even hate, but because standing near you forced them to face the parts of themselves they've spent years avoiding. You didn't destroy their illusion, chosen one. Their own reflection did. You were simply the one brave enough to hold the glass steady while they unraveled in front of it. Number 10. Your spirit was the watchtower they never knew was there. Deceivers fear evidence they can erase. They panic when the evidence lives in a witness they can't touch. That's you, chosen one. They thought to catch them you'd need screenshots, texts, photos, witnesses, proof they could hide, delete, or twist. They didn't realize you were operating on a level beyond their reach. Your spirit ran surveillance no wiretap could match. No cameras, no wires, no digital trail. Just untouchable intuition recording everything in real time. Every lie, every betrayal, every sideways glance logged deep inside you like time-stamped footage no one can erase. And the beauty of it, this sacred recording system isn't something you switch on. It's always running, always awake. Even when your face is calm, your spirit is wide open, collecting data, piecing together who they are and what they're capable of. Imagine a black box inside an airplane, silent, unassuming, but indestructible. Even if the plane crashes, the box holds the whole truth. That's you. They can delete texts, deny conversations, gaslight others, scrub their tracks, but they can't delete what your soul recorded. So when you finally speak, you don't bring rumors, you don't guess, you don't accuse. You come armed with invisible receipts, the kind that slice through lies like a scalpel. Your words aren't speculation. They're confirmation backed by a silent witness inside you that saw everything unfold. And that's why your accuracy shakes them. It's not paranoia. It's not coincidence. It's certainty. A certainty so complete it leaves them speechless because they finally realize, no matter how hard they try to cover their tracks in the physical world, the truth is already locked inside you, replaying on a loop. You don't need their permission to speak. You don't need their cooperation to reveal what's already obvious. Your inner watchtower has already done the work. And now, without lifting a hand, their secrets are exposed in ways they never imagined possible. Number 11. They mocked your warnings until reality proved you right. Truth sounds like paranoia to those invested in their own lies. That's what you lived through, chosen one. Every time you raised a red flag, they rolled their eyes. Every time you pointed out a crack, they whispered, overthinking. They labeled you paranoid, dramatic, impossible. because it was easier to dismiss you than to face what you were sensing. But you weren't guessing. You weren't stirring drama. You were tuned to a frequency they couldn't hear. Imagine a radio picking up a storm alert before the clouds even form. That was you. You weren't predicting random chaos. You were feeling the inevitable truth moving toward the surface. They called it paranoia because they couldn't see it yet. But you stayed steady. You weren't seeking their approval. You knew what you knew. Your words weren't threats. They were warnings from a place beyond their comprehension. While they laughed, the timeline unfolded exactly as you sensed it would. And now, as the pieces fall into place, they're scrambling to catch up, horrified by how precise you were without ever seeing their private moves. They can't explain it. They thought you had inside information. They thought someone was feeding you secrets. The answer is simpler and scarier. You weren't working from their limited perspective. You were aligned with a current they don't even believe in. You were reading inevitability while they were still writing excuses. Picture a lighthouse beam cutting through fog, steady, consistent, unbothered whether anyone believes it's there. That was you. Their disbelief didn't shake you because you weren't speaking from fear or fantasy. You were speaking from certainty. And now, when your words come true one after another, the shock isn't just about what you knew. It's about how deeply you were connected to a source that doesn't lie, doesn't hesitate, and never misses. Their disbelief has turned to panic. The same things they mocked are now the things they can't escape. You're not paranoid, you're not guessing, you're not psychic, you're clear. And that clarity, the kind that proves itself over time, is what they're most afraid of, because it reveals they were never in control of the truth. Number 12. You weren't looking for the truth. You were the spotlight they couldn't escape. Truth doesn't chase. It stands still, and everything false trips over itself trying to get away. That was you, chosen one. They assumed you were snooping, digging, trying to collect dirt. They mistook your stillness for curiosity. But truth doesn't need to hunt. Truth just is. It exists like gravity, invisible yet undeniable. And when it's present, everything false either steps into the light or crumbles trying to hide. Your presence wasn't a search party. It was a spotlight. You didn't have to accuse, interrogate, or pry. You simply stood in your alignment, and their facades started to crack on their own. Imagine walking into a dimly lit room with a mirror-polished floor. The moment the lights flick on, every spill, every stain, every hidden flaw becomes visible. That's what your energy did to them. They hadn't prepared for someone who wasn't tangled in their web, someone so fundamentally honest that their dishonesty had nowhere to cling. That's what's blowing their minds now. You weren't playing detective. You were embodying the very thing they were trying to avoid. It wasn't about what you said. It was about what your presence communicated. You were a walking truth bomb, and their attempts to muddy the water fell flat the moment you showed up. Picture a tuning fork striking the air. Anything out of tune is instantly exposed by the vibration. That's you. They thought control came from vagueness, half-truths, smoke and mirrors. But truth doesn't negotiate. It doesn't whisper. It stands firm and reveals. And now they're stuck trying to figure out how to breathe in a space where lies can't survive. You didn't find their secrets. You didn't catch their deception. You simply existed as truth, and everything false around you collapsed under its own weight. That's the power that rattles them, not what you did, but what you are. Number 13. They didn't dread what you knew. They dreaded what you could detonate. Secrets rot quietly until the day someone walks in holding the match. That's you, chosen one. They weren't trembling because you knew things. They were trembling because you could reveal them. It's one thing to bury secrets deep under layers of lies, but it's an entirely different terror to know someone walks around carrying the power to unspool every single thread. Your presence alone unsettled the fragile world they built with manipulation and half-truths. You weren't just an observer, you were a walking disruption, a quiet earthquake. Every step you took cracked the foundation they relied on to keep control. What gnaws at them most is that you don't even have to speak to cause chaos. Your silence is louder than their explanations. It's a threat they can't measure, a storm cloud hanging above their head. They watch you, scanning for slip-ups, desperate for a sign that you'll expose them. But you hold back, not because you're blind, but because your restraint is a weapon they don't understand. Imagine a vault filled with their secrets, and you're the one holding the code. You don't open it, but the fact that you could keeps them awake at night. That's what they fear, not the knowledge, but the detonation. They've built their existence on an ecosystem of lies. You are the contradiction that refuses to fit, the wild card that doesn't play by their rules. That's why you're dangerous. Not because you're loud or aggressive, but because you embody a truth so undeniable it threatens to dismantle their reality without you lifting a hand. They don't fear your voice. They fear your potential. They fear that at any moment your quiet storm could break loose, spilling everything they've tried to bury. And that fear, that's what shakes them to their core. You're not just holding information, chosen one. You're holding leverage they can't control, wrapped in a character they can't predict. And that is far more terrifying than any outburst could ever be. So, chosen one, now you see why they're shaken, not because you guessed, but because you knew the whole time. Your calm, your accuracy, your presence has been their undoing from the start. And this is your confirmation. You don't need to force truth. You are the truth. If this message resonated with you, press that like button if you haven't already. And if you're still not part of our family, make sure to hit subscribe. Join the mission, spread the light, and keep standing in the power they can't explain, but will never forget.